Now it's time for the Voice for the Industry podcast.
Well, hey, Carissa, I got to tell you, Maddie's episode was really good. I'm really looking forward to everybody hearing this. It was really fun to hear how she kind of got into the AI game through doing, data analytics and just the fact, how we became partners. But great partner, great company. They're really leading the charge on AI and call analytics in this industry.
Yeah, Maddie is basically a part of our team, and hearing how passionate she is always, and then hearing it with all of the AI talks she did here was awesome.
Yeah. She's on our teams, so I guess she really is part of the team. All right. Well, everybody enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Voice for the Industry podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest, Maddie Allen with X-Ray Labs. How you doing, Maddie?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great now that I get to talk to you. All right, I'm going to read your bio, and then we're going to get into some good conversation. All right, so Maddie Allen is a co-founder of X-Ray Labs, the team behind the X-Ray platform, an AI-powered call center solution built specifically for pest and lawn care companies. She leads operations and has spent the last several years working closely with businesses in the industry to ensure the technology solves real day-to-day problems. X-Ray is closing in on processing 10 million calls in the last 2 years across over 250 companies nationwide. That's impressive. How you doing, Maddie?
I'm doing great. It's actually, now that you say it, I wrote that, 2 months ago as a general bio, and now we're pushing 300 across the country.
Wow,
so it's just an ever-growing number.
So just like everything else AI related, X-Ray is going fast, right?
It is faster than we can keep up.
Yeah, well, I tell you, when I do a lot of trade shows and presentations and things, and everybody's interested in AI, and a lot of people ask about X-Ray. So I know it's out there, and a lot of people in the industry are very familiar with it and excited about it. So why don't you tell us about X-Ray, the history of it, how it all started in X-Ray Labs, and how it all came to be?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we've been working with companies in the industry for a number of years. Me and my partner in the business, Kent, have had a number of different customers that have been specifically pest control and lawn care and operated at some different functions within those businesses. But really, we've done a number of different analytics projects for larger pest control companies. I think that once you reach a certain scale, right, you begin to solve problems through data. And so I believe we're pretty perfectly positioned in the market where I was sitting on the marketing side and Kent was sitting on the kind of development software and analytics side when OpenAI kind of opened its portal for the general user to start using those basic AI capabilities. And so I know you've heard the story 100,000 times for how X-Ray came to be, but it originally was developed to be a marketing tool. The idea was we had a team of people who were listening to phone calls manually, just marketing-driven phone calls based on those tracking numbers. And the idea was, Kent said, hey, I don't think we need to do this manually anymore. We can do this with AI. And I was like, sure, come back to me when you can do that. And no joke, and as you've experienced yourself, Raymond, Kent came back 2 weeks later with what was the very first working version of what is now X-Ray today. And all it was meant to do was listen to calls and tell me what happened on that call. Was this a customer? Was this a lead? Were they qualified? Did they buy? Right? It just was meant to give us the very, very basic data. What
marketing
feels basic
focused,
today.
Right? Like very marketing focused, yeah.
Exactly. And it was only for those marketing numbers. So for we call them our alpha customers, one in lawn and one in pest. Very quickly, those customers came back to us and said, wow, this is amazing. Can we do this for our customer calls? And so obviously we went on a grand adventure that has been the last 2 years of not totally like moving away from that product, but more integrating that marketing piece into our overall platform, which is truly an AI analytics tool for your call center. And our whole goal is to bring light and simplicity into something that historically has been inaccessible without having someone sit and manually listen to every single phone call, which Raymond, I know you've done this as well as all your experience as call center management and leadership. I also have listened to hundreds of thousands of pest control and lawn care phone calls in the last few years, and it's brutal. It's painful to listen to the calls. And so not only do teams not generally have the time to do it, when you do, you want to pull your hair out. Like,
Right.
It's one of the most there's a reason people don't audit calls more frequently. And so really, I think that now approaching the market and some things we're going to talk about today, I'm very excited about. But from the history of coming into the industry, it truly was built as a tool to help us figure out what marketing is working, where should we put our marketing dollars, and now that we can really capture whatever data around our calls that we want, how do we capture the right data to make the right decisions, to take action at the right time, to really help our customers do two things: sell more and retain more. At the end of the day, that's what X-Ray is built to do. We like to talk about, Raymond, there's all sorts of crazy data that this platform can give you and all sorts of detail you can get. But at its core, X-Ray was built and always has been built from a place of how do we drive accountability through the business so that we can sell more and retain more customers. And that's it. It's really that simple.
Well, those are pretty important things to strive for. Yeah. And you're absolutely right on the call monitoring. It never really gets done because people have other things to do that are not nearly as dreadful as call monitoring. And then the other one is, like you said, is like, you never know what a phone call is about. You have a tracking number. After a while, people keep calling that tracking number back and it gets diluted, and then you're trying to figure out what happened. So that's pretty amazing how it started from a basic request. So that's fantastic. Well, I know a lot about X-Ray because X-Ray Labs is a partner with Voice for Pest. So why don't you tell us a little about the story of how, and I know it, the relationship between X-Ray Labs and Voice for Pest, and kind of how everything came together and how we're moving forward.
So what you really want me to tell is the story of how Raymond became my new favorite person, right?
Well, that's always a good story to hear. Yes.
Yes. No, it's so crazy. It's surreal, honestly, sitting here, Raymond, today, having this conversation with you 18 months after, really, for me, I would say it all began. Like, the partnership began where historically, kind of if I look back, right, we had developed an initial version of our platform. We were at a trade show. And again, it's so interesting. I think that, the universe just knew we needed to find each other because we were looking to find a partner who was in our industry, who had really the customer base to make it simple for us to process calls at scale, right? The difficulty that we've had is, or at that point in our development, I would say, was that every single phone system is built so differently, and they don't all have great data, and they don't have things that you can always access, right? And so we had this product that we would plug into other platforms, and we couldn't always make it work the right way, and it was basically building this custom product for every customer that we had. So it was only available to, honestly, the top tier, like top 50 customers in the industry, right? Or companies in the industry, which obviously is not a great business model for us. Right. And so it was just the timing is so crazy that it was in February, we were going to this trade show, and we were just consistently having sales calls with people. And I'd say 70 to 80% of the leads we were talking to were just telling us, we're with Voice for Pest, we're with Voice for Pest, we're with Voice for Turf, right? And it just kept coming up to the point that, like, a week before we go to that show where you and I meet, I was on the phone with Kent and said, I have to meet somebody at this company. I don't know what we'll do together, but I have to find somebody. And the idea that I walked in, and right across the showroom from me, there sits Raven with the Voice for Pest trade show desk. It was like the stars aligned, and now's our opportunity. And so I'd love, I know on your side there was a totally different process, but from us meeting to us having launched a fully integrated platform together and bringing on a significant volume of customers was within 30 days. Yeah. And it was crazy. I feel like you and I don't know, those first 30, 60, 90 days, I'm sure the whole team, the ops team, hated us because it was like, we have no process. It's the wild, wild west. Everybody wants this great new AI product, and we can't get it implemented fast enough. So obviously we've done a lot since then, but to me, that was a place, it was a pivotal point for us as a company to find a partner that we truly could build a platform with that's so tightly integrated that I just feel like we're honestly a lot of the time one team. Like we're really working that closely together. So I'd love to hear from your side,
Okay,
obviously you were there.
And I frequently introduce you as my coworker, so that's kind of the same thing. Yes. So we same thing on the opposite side. We actually, let's be honest, we had a couple big customers that left us. And one of the big features they liked was this AI summary thing. And so we were like, okay, we need to find somebody who can do it. We were looking around, and I see this young lady at the South Carolina Pest Control Summit, and I said, "What do you guys do?" And that was really it. And then I think within a couple of weeks, we had a face-to-face meeting with a bunch of people in St. Augustine, Florida. You guys flew in, and then what's funny looking back is, normally when you do something like this, you plan it and you have a timeline and you get all your marketing ready and you get everything. We just said, let's do it, and everybody else had to figure it out, which was terrible in one way, but you know what? That's what we had to do to get it moving. And it took a few months for all the paperwork and process to settle, which is not the way to do it. Don't recommend doing it backwards, but it worked out for us. So that was pretty cool. But yeah,
I wouldn't have done it any other way, Raymond. That's really,
well, that's how you do.
Yeah, that's how we roll.
That's how you roll. I will say, and me too for the most part. But usually there's other people that keep me in check, so it worked out pretty well. But yeah, so it really worked out that we had the customer base and the ability to get you the data you needed very quickly and easily. And that's, people ask sometimes, like, why does X-Ray do this? Well, that's because that's why,
Exactly.
There are other phone solutions in the industry, but they don't have that many customers, relatively speaking. So it's pretty interesting.
To your point, like, I think a main issue that you solved for us, just being very transparent, was you took our cost, the model that we were having to use, and cut it significantly to bring us to a place where we could actually bring this product to the mid-sized company, right? You could bring this product to somebody, like even the summaries, right? That could go, if you have one person answering your calls, you need summaries. And we could have never worked with somebody who only had one person answering the phone because it didn't make any sense for the business. And so, like, again, I can't speak enough about how much I value that partnership and how aligned, and honestly, just the team. Like, I know the first 3 months, I feel like everybody on that side probably hated seeing my name come across their inbox, and I don't blame them. But like, honestly, I feel like we went to Pest World together in the fall, and the team just really, I don't know, we meshed, and like, I can't imagine working with another team as closely as we work together and like think through things. So anyway, big shout out to you guys. You're awesome to work with.
You have our team. You're on our teams. So, I mean, that's what says it all, right? All right. Big group hug. All right. So the next thing, we've been talking a lot about X-Ray. Well, tell us tell us a little bit more about X-Ray, what it does, a little more details, give everybody a sense of the functionality of it.
Yes. So the basic function of the X-Ray platform is to monitor all of your calls using custom AI built for the industry to give you the information that's happening in your call center. So in its most basic function, if somebody wanted to understand how many people called into my call center today that we quoted that were qualified opportunities, but they didn't sell, can I get a list of those people? Can I get what they called about? Can I get the transcript of the call? The answer is yes. If you want to understand all of our customers who called in, what customers were disagreeable, right? What customers were disagreeable that our customer service agent brought back to being a very positive interaction. More importantly, if you want to find customers who are at risk of cancellation based on those conversations, can I identify that? Yes. X-Ray is really built to be that monitoring platform, that active monitoring for every call coming into the business, because our core belief is that if the right people know the information at the right time, you're going to go and take action that's going to sell more customers and retain more customers. And at the end of the day, that's really all that pest control is about, right? It's customer acquisition and LTV, or lifetime value. So the longer you retain your customers, the longer and more valuable your customer base is. And so I think that us being very targeted in that area is important. Now, the platform does all sorts of other things. It drives some really cool accountability with the scorecards in terms of monitoring those sales conversations and those customer service conversations, right? You can start to identify different pieces of really areas to focus. So, for example, one of the things that X-Ray monitors for is risk, right? When we talk about retention risk, it's looking for those conversations where the customer might not have even been disagreeable, but they say something like, hey, you guys have come out a couple times and I'm still seeing the mice. I don't really think this is very effective, right? And the customer service agent says, oh, I'm so sorry, let me schedule you a revisit. Well, if someone is aware that that customer believes that our product is ineffective, we're now bordering on the line of that customer not trusting that we can actually solve their problem. And so maybe somebody needs to go into that account, right? Field routes or pest pack or whatever, and go and look and say, hey, why has this customer been treated 3 times and they're still having the problem, right? I had a really specific example a couple weeks ago, and they went in and they looked at it, and it's because they had 3 new technicians that did each treatment. And they genuinely, like, nobody would have planned to send 3 new technicians 3 different times on that route, but that's what happened. And now we have a customer who believes that our treatment is ineffective, which is not true, right? It could be for them. So now we can put the proper thing in place. So send an experienced technician or a manager, even call that customer and have a personal conversation to say, hey, Miss Jones, I'm so sorry. Just being very transparent with you. We've had 3 technicians that are all new on our team. They're training. This should have never happened in our process, but they've all happened to come to your house to provide treatment. Let me send our most experienced service manager out for you. He's happy to address any of our issues, and we'll go ahead and just follow up a scheduled visit, like a follow-up visit 2 weeks after. And like, if a customer feels like you've acknowledged them so personally and spoken to their issue so directly, I'm not saying that Miss Jones is not going to cancel, but it's highly unlikely she's going to cancel in the next 60 or 90 days, right? She feels heard and seen and valued, and her problem is being solved. But without X-Ray, that call just never gets found. It's just set up as a reservice, right? And maybe you have someone monitoring your reservices. Some companies do, right? It's a metric we look at. But is the customer really being prioritized to the team in a way that we can be impactful in a time period that matters? Not next month when you look at that report. No, today, when this caller calls in, we can make sure that someone has looked at the root issue. And that's really, to me, it's the fundamental premise of the X-Ray platform as it exists today.
No, that's really powerful. And what I see X-Ray doing, that and a lot of other things, but one of the most important things is it's doing a lot. It's doing the work that previously human beings were supposed to do and would try to do and did, but everybody's busy. Things happen, and like you said, I know there are companies that monitor customers that have 2 or 3 or 4 callbacks, right? But that report has to get created. Then somebody has to look at it. Somebody has to analyze it. Somebody, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. And so and to your point, you end up with a customer that ends up leaving because they're not the type of person that's going to get in your face and complain and yell. They're just going to quietly go away. I think everybody's probably heard that statistic out there, something like, 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 unhappy customers don't complain. They just quietly go away, right? And so that's very powerful stuff. And that's what I really see happening is getting the information companies need to make impactful decisions without a bunch of people having to do stuff, because a lot of times it just doesn't get done. And if it does get done, it doesn't always get done well. So that's pretty amazing. And I just get excited talking about it, as you know. We're a fangirl, fanboy all the time, and it's always been that way since we met. Yeah. So, all right. So I've seen the evolution of X-Ray from February of last year to today, and I keep getting constantly amazed by what's added. And so where's it going? What's the future of X-Ray? Where are you seeing it? But then also, I also want to kind of add into, like, where do you see AI in general in the industry? I mean, you're one of the few people that's actually doing AI and using it and making it work. So you have answers maybe to questions a lot of people don't have. So what do you think?
Sure. Well, I'm not sure anyone has the true answer of how AI is going to
No, you have to tell
revolutionize.
everybody exactly what AI is going to do in the future.
It is fundamentally changing the way that we as human society are going to exist. And that is both a scary thing and an awesome opportunity, and so big that it's hard for me to even process how this is going to play out. Now, I do think I probably have a counter view to some people in that although I do believe there will be a massive shift, right? I think things will happen a little bit more slowly than people initially expected. And it's because you can see technological changes in like the softwares that are coming out and the tools that are happening, right? And they're moving so quickly. Just like you said, what X-Ray was 2 years ago, what it was in February, what it is today, and what it's going to be like next month is they don't even look like the same platform. It's actually doing something functionally different. And it's because the main area that I've seen AI really come in is taking people who are able to develop software platforms and expedite their capabilities to ship, right? It's taking them from, if they can get a clear vision, you don't have to go and hire a team of 15 developers anymore to build something very custom or something with a very clear objective. It's more about, do you have the basic skills to communicate to an AI platform what you need and let it write the code for you? Now, I'm not trying to say that developers are a thing of the past, right? We obviously have developers on our staff and they work with AI and they utilize it literally every single day in our day-to-day interaction. But I do think that we're going to see a very strong push for certain pieces of the business to be taken into AI, and then other things that will be held very closely for a while. And I think it's probably a good thing. But I think one of the things that we're focused on, I'm kind of blending your questions here, but one of the things that we are focused on as an organization is not just having flashy tools that people think are really cool, but are ineffective. I've had customers asking me for AI agents that could handle their phone calls legitimately for 18 months. And the answer up until very, very recently, like in the last 60 days, has been they are coming, they are not ready yet. And there's been to me, when people think AI and they think bots, right? They conceptualize this AI call center. And there are people out there that are building platforms and they're getting better and better and better, right? I have customers that are using after AI as after hours service, but there's a reason they're after hours or overflow, right? And it's because the systems don't integrate with Field Routes or PestPack or BrayoStack or any of the major platforms yet, Real Green, right? And every company, even if they did integrate, you utilize the platform differently enough that for somebody to develop a tool, like I talk about call tracking metrics, I think that they've done a really great job. Dialpad too, like they've got a really flashy product, right? They have some AI tools that are super sexy on the outside. But I genuinely have customers that are on those platforms that come to us because it doesn't actually solve the root issue, because there's still something that needs to be built that is applicable for the business, for the industry, right? Bringing it down into the level that it can handle all the nuance that a pest control company handles. You know, again, I know I'm kind of diverting and coming back into your question.
Yeah.
But overall in the industry, right? Like between when you group together all the different types of scheduling calls, like 70% of all customer calls are scheduling related in a pest control business. And the other ones are upset customers and billing, right? Like
scheduling and billing. Yeah, that's the big ones. Yeah.
Exactly. And so when you stop and you think about, okay, well, it's not that hard to build something that can just schedule. Well, do you want it to optimize your routes? Do you want to give it the ability for the customer to request a specific technician? Do they have multiple locations and you need to make sure they're at the right address? How can the AI interact with that person and then go and take the action properly, right? Can it quote? can somebody call in and it recommend the best packages to them based on where their service location is, where they're at? There's just, when you get into the actual execution of day in, day out, what a pest control or a lawn care, especially lawn, man, quoting, like custom quoting and dimensions and the yard space, like you just open up a can of worms where I'm not saying the AI is not smart enough to do it yet. It's more that the tools, it's called tool calling, right? The AI has the ability to call different tools into its tool belt so that then it can execute workflows depending on what that request is, right? And so I do think this year specifically, over the next 6 months, we're going to see a mass integration of different tools. Like, to me, that's where a lot of this is heading, is not if I can build a bot that can talk to the phone for people. It's whether I can build the right bot that can solve the right problems, that can take action for your company. And so, again, I think that that's where we're headed, is having agents that come out and can execute certain workflows. And eventually, do I think that we're going to replace all call centers with AI agents? Like, maybe in 10 years, maybe, right? Do I think there will be some companies that are completely AI run? Probably, right? Like, they could simplify their business enough. They could say, we only do these 3 things. There's things that you could do in your business to say, I'm not going to have a human mind behind this. I'm going to simplify the process enough that I can build a platform to do this. I just don't think that we're going to see this mass exodus, at least in the next 12 months, like people probably have a lot of fear out there to believe. So I'm sorry, I'll let you go in.
Well, no, I was going to say, you said that AI is now going to be able to bring in other tools and bring it together. That's how the movie Terminator started, right? They started talking to each other, and then when with Skynet, and they flipped the switch, and that was it. So that's the first thing I thought of, is, oh, great, now they're talking to each other, and before long, no, I'm kidding.
Hey,
but no,
maybe that's what I'll call the next platform, the Pest Terminator.
There you go. But no, I agree with you 100%. I don't see. There's going to be human beings there, because it's a human business, and there's too many nuances. Now, eventually down the road, look what the internet was 30 years ago. It took a while for us to get to where the internet was really having the impact that it does today. So it's going to take a while, but who knows eventually. But I'm with you 100%. And that's the thing, is like, people still have to do things, and people still want to interact with people. There are certain things that bot can definitely do, but sometimes you just want to talk to a human being, and I think that's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Great point, though. Great answer. Multiple answers within one answer, which is really good. I'm just excited. I can listen to you talk all day. All right. So, the last topic is really anything you want to talk about. It can be AI related. You can talk about your pets, your favorite snack, whatever you want to talk about. It's up to you.
No, I think so. I want to go back just a little bit. This last section, we'll talk through kind of what's coming, because I think there's some really cool stuff in the platform. It's really interesting working in an AI company where we prioritize using AI ourselves, right? And we prioritize solving the right problems for people. And so it's really interesting where we as a company are living in a space. There's 100,000 different things that we could build that you could make money building, right? There's a lot of things that would sell. But I think the fundamental question for our team has been, okay, looking at what the technology is capable of today, knowing what it's going to be capable of in a year from now, how do we continue to build pieces of this platform where at the end of the day, what we will be able to offer the market is almost this one-stop platform to manage the call center with humans and agents being monitored in the same way. And so I think that there's a lot of application for that. I think our team thinks in terms of accountability and action, right? And so you're going to be super excited. I know we haven't even talked about this, but we just finished some meetings this week with our kind of redesign of this platform that we're rolling out. And by the way, all of these pieces exist today in different kind of under different umbrellas. But the idea for us is, how do we bring it all together? So I think a huge opportunity. I know a lot of our customer base has been testing this and trying this, but is the AI selling, the text bots, right? The difference between texting and voice is the latency and the immediacy, right? So when a text bot is responding, it has time to process, to think, right? It's not having to give direct, not that the AI necessarily needs time, but it's not speaking, right? Those latency issues, which by the way, even in the last month have become substantially better. But generally you can still tell that you're talking to an AI agent. When you're in text, right? Like you're having a text conversation with somebody. And it's been so incredible. Again, I told you, we launched out kind of a beta version of this with a handful of our customer base, just because we had had a lot of buzz around it. We had people that didn't want to work with other companies but wanted to try it. And so we built a platform and have been testing. And the results have been incredible, right? Like we are seeing closing rates. I think about these text campaigns like email marketing was, 15 years ago. You would be able to launch an email marketing campaign and you just knew that you were going to sell at a specific percentage and it became a volume game. And again, I'm not saying that email marketing goes away necessarily. Because I think it has its place and its audience building and everything. And like, there's all these AI tools you can do with that too, right? So cool ways to engage. But I do think that text is like the up and coming, kind of the underdog that we've all had access to. But when you had to pay someone to sit and manually text customers, it just wasn't feasible, right? That it wasn't accessible for companies to do. And so that has been a really, honestly, a game changer. And for us, we did not start with the integration build. We started with, can I make this thing sell? Can I reach out to customers and can it sell? And it can. It sells a lot. I think I've sold at this point over almost $750,000 worth of mosquito work between just a handful of customers. And that's been in 2 months. It's just been like mind blowing to the place that now, I've got a couple onboarding slots for a couple more clients that I'm like, hey, if you want to test this season, right? We're not going to go to the market in mass until maybe after Pest World, but like, this is crazy. And so I do think that that's a path that is just maybe for the next 12 to 24 months going to be a very profitable investment for the pest control and the lawn care industry to invest in. And then that gap's going to close, right? Everybody's going to start doing it. Everybody's going to have access. Everybody's going to get used to being texted, just like emails, right? Like it's going to become like Google Local Service, right? If you were on Google Local Service when it first launched, you made a lot of money. Like you were making 23, 24, 20 times, like 25 times ROAS in like return in that channel. And then now, you're looking at, over the years, now you're looking at a 3 to 5x return in that.
Because everybody else is doing it too. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
exactly. And so I do think like that is something where it is something that you could take today that is more impactful than I could have imagined 60 days ago. So that's a big part of what we're building now is, okay, how do we take this kind of text agent and bring it in, and how do we integrate it with these platforms? And to us, like the integration piece wasn't the hard part, right? You can, if you know that somebody's ready to buy, you can go enter it into the system yourself, or you can go schedule with the customer. But now it's like, oh, this thing really works. How do we integrate this so that it can start running in the background? And my ultimate vision for kind of this part of our platform is that you have a caller, they call in, your team quotes them, they don't sell over the phone. Well, X-Ray already knows that. X-Ray knows that that's an unsold lead. It's a hot opportunity. What if X-Ray just takes that and pushes it over into an AI bot that triggers a follow-up? And it's like, hey, just wanted to, follow up with you on this quote that the team gave you. I'm here if you have any questions. How can we get you started today, right? What can I help you with? What other information do you need? And then 3 days later, it just follows up. And a week later, it just follows up. And it's like, conceptually, we know that that's what we should be doing in our call centers. But when your team is handling inbound call after inbound call after inbound call, right? And just being honest, nobody likes to make outbound sales calls, right? You have to be a very specific person to love to get told no.
I like the word specific. That's a good one to use. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they do exist. And if you can find them, don't let them go. Like let them sell whatever they can sell. But it's not super common. And so it's like, how do we solve the issue, right? Because pest control companies are paying anywhere. I mean, if you are really optimizing, by the way, this is something I see in the industry. People think that they're paying $70 or $80 for a lead. And like, there's only been a handful of instances that I could say that that's probably true. It's normally because they're not accurately tracking the cost of the marketing, right? And so generally you're probably paying between $120 and I've seen up to $350 depending on the channel, especially Google Ads. Like Google Ads is, anyway, it's a necessary evil. But, and when you pay $350, $180 for a pest control lead who just, you give a quote and then we never talk to them again, is literally cash walking out the door, right? Better yet, you didn't get the revenue from it. You actually spent money to try to acquire that lead and it's gone. And so that to me is like a very, again, we're really close. Like I think I'll have this working next month where X-Ray can identify the unsold lead and throw it into a text campaign. And now we don't have to manage the pipeline. We don't have to manage the sales team to stay on top of them about their outbound calls. Like it's just done for them. And it allows them to focus on those inbound opportunities. The other kind of launching piece that, again, I think I've got it in test right now. I'll have it next month ready, is this whole idea that those unsold leads can also be leveraged as immediate coaching opportunities. So we're building a bot that is trained from kind of the top industry sales ideas, right? Top sales coaching methodologies that are out there. And imagine if your team could be coached by that person every single time that they didn't sell the lead. And so now X-Ray identifies, hey, this was an unsold opportunity. Your agent gets an email or a text or something in Teams, something directly to them that says, hey, you did really great in these areas. How about next time you go ahead and just offer to get on the schedule? Just make a little bit of the push, or maybe pivot faster. You spent a lot of time talking about the price. It made it feel expensive. How about we focus on the value, give the price, and assume the sale? Just things like that where it's consistent feedback so that throughout the day, right? Maybe they have 5 unsold leads, maybe they have 10, but throughout the day, they're actively getting examples of how to sell better and better and better and better. And so like, I'm super excited about the launch of that one, right? We've kind of had scorecards.
Yeah, I could tell.
I love our product, Raymond. It's really...
Me too.
You won't find someone more passionate than me. They're better at a lot of other things, but I do not lack passion.
That's true.
So the scoring, I think, is going to be kind of a big hit for a lot of, when I say scoring, I mean like that coaching, right? Not just, right. Hey, here's a scorecard with everything you've done. So we're really, really excited to press that. And then ultimately having this place where you can come in and you can see full accountability for everybody on your team, what they've sold, what they've done, how they're performing, catching things that are going unmonitored, and then being able to deploy, whether it's voice or text, these agents that can start to just become a part of your team and a part of your workflow as over the next 12, 24, 36 months, the industry begins to shift and things become more and more available that bots can start to do. So we're really excited about some of the new stuff that we've got on our side. I feel like I'm forgetting a major one, but that's okay. I'll if I remember.
Well, maybe to pop back into your head, but no, that's very exciting, and that touches on, I think, what my like discovery with X-Ray and AI is, we're starting to see where, I don't think what most people realize is how much of an impact your call data really can have on your business. You can really know every single thing about your company by your call data, because that's, your conversations with your customers, and there's so much information out there. And I love the idea of like X-Ray analyzing a call and saying, hey, Raymond, next time try this, because what we see because of X-Ray is, 40%, usually about 40% of the number one reason people don't, or number one objection, geez, I can't speak, is talk to somebody else, third party. I need to talk to my partner. And if you can send those messages out, and if you can improve that employee's ability to just handle that one objection better, they're going to do better on 40% of their leads, right? And they're going to close more. So it's pretty powerful. And then the other thing I really like that you said earlier is developing X-Ray to do things that matter, to do important things. A lot of people ask for, can I get a real-time alert? Can you tell me right now while the call's going on if they're unhappy? And I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Assuming you're sitting at your desk, right? To me, that's the powerful thing is that, like we said, the data that companies need to make impactful decisions to run their business. And it's very exciting stuff. And, it's a little bit like, we're business partners, we're friends, we're having this conversation and people are like, who cares? But I really think it's fantastic. And this is driving the industry. There's a lot of AI out there, but X-Ray is really driving the industry. And I'm just so happy to have you here to talk about it.
I think, Raymond, your emphasis on the data, right? The data to build the right things, to do the right things. It reminded me of the last major thing that we'll be rolling out, which is benchmarking. So, as a pest control company, I love this industry. Lawn is the same way. I kind of talk about these intermediate.
Right.
But I love the industry because most owners that I meet, and I've sat in the room with a countless number of very smart business owners, specifically in these industries, they're so open with their processes and their data and like how they do things. And it's what I love about the industry so much is their willingness to really pour into the industry collectively. I'm not talking about everybody, but most people
a lot
have a very general sense of like, we're competitors, but like we're all in the same industry. We're all here to serve our communities, right? Keep us safe, healthy, bugs out of our food and everything else, right? Like genuinely, that's what they're out here to do. And so because of that, we're super, super excited, right? Like you mentioned at the beginning of the call, we have a significant amount of standardized data. So what I find is that a lot of companies I go into, right, just doing a free trial of X-Ray, I can look at your dashboard. And at this point, I've seen enough companies to know, hey, are you within the average? Is there an area that just stands out to me that's like, whoa, why is your retention risk so high or your cancellation reason so high? Like, what's going on here? Have we just done a price increase, right? And X-Ray monitors that for that now too, which is pretty cool. But just being able to ask those questions of, hey, is my team performing like I should be performing, right? The idea for us would be kind of breaking companies based on size, right? So like small, medium, large, extra large, right? That kind of being the buckets. And then just looking at, right? I might think that closing at 40% isn't high enough, but if the industry is closing at 25, like, yes, there's always room for for improvement. But like, how can I coach up to that? And how can I know that, okay, I'm not going to do a ton better in that specific area. Let me shift my focus because my cancellation rate is really high. So like I can be really happy, right? We all have limited time and resources. If I'm doing really well in this area, I'm outperforming the industry, I'm outperforming some of like where I've been situated, but I'm really lacking over here. Let me move that attention and go focus in that area. And so the benchmarking piece and the data, it's also why, as we're training what we're going to call our like AI agents, right? Whether it's text or voice agents, we have a lot of data to actually train bots that are useful, right? Like they can actually perform pest control tasks, and they can do it very well. And that's why I'm really excited that when we do have those coming available for our current customers, like a customer that's been with us for a year, we're going to have a year's worth of data to train their AI bot. And now we have their own call data, their own processes that we can utilize to help that AI agent perform like their own agents, right? And so it's just, the industry is going to be so interesting over the next couple of years as everybody's going to come out. I guarantee you're going to go to Pest World this year and everybody is going to be trying to sell you an AI agent, an AI bot, an AI platform. And so to me, when I think about like, okay, why is X-Ray different? And it's like, because we're genuinely working with some of the industry leaders to develop the tools that are not just going to be flashy, right? I'm not going to ever sit in a customer and tell you, I mean, Raymond, you've heard me all the time. Customers ask me all the time, can it do this? And it's like, no, not yet. Like, I don't trust it enough to do that for your business. And until I feel like I can trust my product, I'm not going to recommend it to your business. And, my husband always fusses at me like I should never be in sales. And so it's terrible when I'm sitting with a customer. I'm not a great salesperson, but I do care about the industry and the business and how these tools are going to impact it. And so I do think it's important to think about the tools that you really need, knowing that there's going to be tools that will fundamentally change how you operate as a pest control business, but understanding that not every tool is going to do what it's a sales, like people sell stuff, right? I mean, it just is what it is. So I'm very excited.
And I would disagree. You're not a good salesperson. You're passionate and you're honest. Those are two really good traits in salespeople. So good job. All right. Okay. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to have a couple. And anyway, that was great before I jump into the next thing. Very insightful. And we could just talk. You and I could talk about it for hours, but we got to stop. So we're stopping. All right. But we're going to bring Carissa back in and we're going to do a couple fun little questions today. Hey, Carissa.
Hello.
How are you? All right. Here we go. So, Maddie got a couple questions. We each answer them, and we kind of go through it. So the first question is, it cannot be anybody, like it can't be a friend, a loved one. It has to be like a historical figure. If you could have lunch with anybody, alive or dead, hopefully they'd be alive when you eat lunch with them, who would that be and why? Again, not like, oh, my father or anything like that, like a historical figure.
You go first. I need to think on this one. I feel like
okay. You're the guest. I'll go first because I've thought about this. It would be Leonardo da Vinci because he was such an amazing mind and he did all these things. And it would just be fascinating to just be able to talk to him and ask him questions and just understand how he thought and everything else. So that's who I would like to have lunch with. Plus, it's probably have really good food where he eats. So, yeah.
Okay. I like that answer. I feel like I should have prepped for this one, but I think if I had to just right now, like pick off the top of my head, somebody, it would probably be Martha Washington. So
now that is one I would not have thought of. Okay. Why? Martha Washington.
So I have a weird obsession with historical, female figures, and mainly the female figures who were with very prominent, dominant men who shaped history of our world. And there's lots of these women. But I feel like a woman in that time when Martha was alive and living, like the idea that she was with George Washington, this man who, shaped so many fundamental ideas and was this leader and just, again, I know he had his issues. Everybody has their issues. But to be the person that at that time, I feel it was such a partnership, but to be so overlooked. Like, I would love to just talk to her and hear the stories about, I have this idea that like George would come home and she would just like sit with him and give all her opinions about what was happening. And that's how I feel like it would have happened. So probably,
you could sneak across Valley Forge in the middle of the night and they would never know you were coming. And he's like, no, that's crazy, Martha. Never. Right. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I just feel like if you were married to George Washington, you had to be kind of a rebel, right? Like you had to be somebody that was for the revolution, that was going to leave your comfort, that was going to leave everything that you had ever known and go and fight. And like, I don't know. I just think that talking to her would be super interesting. You'd hear all sorts of fun stuff.
That's a really good answer. Chris, you're up next. You got to follow that one.
It's a hard one to follow. This is a hard one. I would probably say Jane Austen. I'm a big reader. Okay. So I would probably say Jane Austen. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be interesting to talk to one of your favorite authors as well. All right. Next question is not nearly as complex. What's the craziest thing you've ever eaten? And I'll go first again if it would give you more time to think of an answer. So when I was in high school, I lived in the Philippines, and they have something called balut, which is basically an egg, a fertilized egg with a little bird in it, and they like bury it in the ground for, I don't know, a while. And it's like a delicacy. And they have these they called them victory liners back then. It was a long time ago. Big buses, right? And you would go in the bus, and these people would get on the bus, and they would walk up and down the aisle selling cigarettes, individual cigarettes, and meat on a stick, and they would sell the volute, and people would open this thing up on the bus, and it's basically a rotten egg. So and so you had a bus full of rotten eggs. But anyway, I ate one of those once when I was a teenager, and it was interesting. It was interesting. I would not eat one again. But that's probably that's the weirdest, craziest thing I've ever eaten.
Nothing I say is ever going to top what you just described putting in your mouth.
There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome.
No, I think I'm gonna have to be boring. Like, I think if I had to think through it, like, it's probably alligator. Like, or the nastiest thing to me was octopus. Like, I only tried it one time.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, I'm not a calamari guy. No, thank you.
The tentacles, I can't. I just can't. But,
all right, Marissa?
I'm very picky, so I'm not.
You don't eat anything. You eat rice.
I know, but
you eat rice and chicken. All right.
This is a weird thing. Like, I did go to a festival or state fair in Connecticut, I think it was, and they did fried Kool-Aid. Like the powder, yes. It sounds weird because Kool-Aid's a drink, but it was like the powder. It was really, really strange. It was just like almost airy inside, but we tried it because we had to. But it was just very odd. They fry everything at those kind of festivals, but that was like the weirdest one because it's not. Really...
Was it the pre-flavored Kool-Aid?
It was like the powder.
The pre-sugared,
more the powder, but it was just very an odd thing to fry.
Yeah, I've had some odd things. You have the fried. Oreos, fried macaroni and cheese is really good. So, I mean, you can fry a lot of stuff. It's really good.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Maddie. Well, thank you. Those are some good questions and great answers. Great discussion. I really appreciate the time. Obviously always great to see you. And I'm sure we'll probably be interacting later about something else. So thanks again for being here. You have a great day. And we're going to go ahead and say goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Raymond. Bye, Carissa.
Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.